Hello, I'm Dr. Sanjay Rai, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at Montgomery College. Thank you for joining us today for our Workforce of Tomorrow series, where we can hear from experts about current and future workforce needs of our county and our state. As the college's academic leader, my role is to make sure our students are prepared with the skills that make them ready for in-demand jobs or to transfer, prepared to enter emerging fields. At MC, we prepare Montgomery County's skilled workers and leaders in many fields, including biotechnology, IT, cybersecurity, engineering, to name just a few. But emerging fields are also fueling our economy. One area that is rapidly disrupting almost every sector is quantum technology. Quantum technology is increasing the demand for talent. Fields like engineering and computer science are being transformed. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome two guests who will help us make sense of quantum technology and the anticipated enormous impact on our county and state. First is Julie Lenzer, Chief Innovation Officer for the University of Maryland. In her role, Julie leads the university's quantum startup foundry that encourages quantum technology development. The university also has other quantum partnerships, including the Quantum Institute, the Quantum Engineering Center, and more. The university is one of the top transfer institutions for Montgomery College students and has highly ranked programs in computer science, physics, applied mathematics, engineering, and more. Also joining us is Charles Robinson, a Montgomery College alum and the public sector quantum computing lead for IBM. Certainly, IBM is a pioneer. IBM says that they design quantum computers to solve very specific, complex computational problems that are absolutely impossible to solve using classical supercomputers. Thank you to both for joining us today. So let's start with just a little of the science. Many people have heard of Newton's laws of physics, Einstein's theory of relativity, but most of us are not familiar with the quantum physics or quantum mechanics. Of course, we are all familiar with computers. For decades, they have gotten cheaper, smaller, and faster. But most of us don't use computers to compute. We don't use them as computational devices. Our ability to explore this strange and curious world of quantum physics and to understand the properties of subatomic particles, we can now develop practical applications like quantum technologies. Julie and Charles, can you help our audience understand what is quantum technology? What is quantum computing? Julie, let's start with you first.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be here. And as you said, quantum computing is disruptive, and I would love to tell you that I can explain to you exactly what it is, but I'm not a physicist, and I'm not a quantum mechanic, so I can explain it to you from a very layperson's perspective. I like to say that I'm a technology translator. What I can tell you is that quantum computing, a quantum computer is to, like today's, if you think about the laptop that you might be watching this on or the device you might be watching it on, quantum computing is so different from today's computing as today's computer is to the abacus. And I give credit to Dr. Bill Phillips, Nobel laureate, who also happens to be a UMD faculty, who came up with that analogy, because that's how different the quantum computing and classical computing is. Yeah, and it's using the principles of quantum physics to be able to compute things, as you mentioned, in a completely different way. And I'm going to defer to Charles because he's probably the more technical one, but I will tell you it's disruptive across every potential, I think, domain or industry where you might see complex problems that need to be solved or computations. And we can talk more about that later. But
thank you. Charles?
So when I think about quantum computing, I think about the root and the origin of how quantum technology and quantum computing came to be. If you think back almost 100 years now to 1926, there was a major breakthrough called quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics stood on the shoulders of many physicists over the years. But fundamentally, it is to study quanta, or quantum, meaning a small unit of energy. And quantum mechanics itself is the study of that mechanically. And how is that different from what we've done in the past? In the past, folks that we all know, like, Maxwell, James Clerk Maxwell, who created Maxwell's equations. I'm an electrical engineer by trade. And Newton, who created the classical concept of mechanics, classical mechanics. There was a gap between classical mechanics and what happens on the very smallest scale. There was a fundamental gap in concept from a mathematical construct perspective. And so there was a lot of folks that this science stood up on, but Schrödinger, as well as Heisenberg, these guys came up with the wave equation. They came up with the classical or the quantum way to express particle movement, wave particle movement, in a Hilbert space. And at the end of the day, the whole notion of quantum mechanics was to look at small things in a very small area and understand the interactions of these small things. And so Feynman came along years later, along with others, Johnny van Neumann, and say, hey, look, we can use, some of these concepts that we're talking about for information processing. And so, of course, von Neumann came up with the original von Neumann architecture. Of course, Feynman himself postulated that we can use this concept from an information processing standpoint. And Charlie Bennett from IBM in 1982 or so coined the phrase quantum information science, or looking at quantum phenomenon passing over a wire. So what is quantum computing and what is quantum technology? There's three things in my mind, and there may be more, that makes this, as you mentioned, strange and curious world. And it started out at the very low level, right? Studying energy quanta, right? There's a couple of things that we can harness at this small scale, and that is the concept of entanglement and the concept of superposition, as well as interference. Those three, entanglement can loosely be described as a strong correlation between two objects. Superposition can loosely be described as something being in the same state at the same time. And so that in and of itself is rather strange. And then there's the concept of interference. And for electrical engineers, you guys know the solutions can be additive. Signals can be additive if you superimpose them, or they can be destructive. And the way that quantum computers work is you have a state matrix, which actually does processing, and the actual solution, which is a heuristic solution and more probabilistic, actually diverges until it gets to a point where the solution itself is additive or is constructive interference. And so it's a heuristic process, but what makes it really beautiful to people like me is that when you start thinking about the math on a very molecular or very small scale, the computers we have today cannot scale with all of the complexities of the actual physical matrix that are in the Hilbert space that we have to contend with. And so the actual quantum space that we operate in could actually scale exponentially. And so therein lies the promise in that for certain characteristic problems, NP-complete problems that like max cut, as an example, using certain characteristics problems, we have the ability to leverage quantum computing and circuits, albeit very short depth circuits in the current state of where quantum computing is. But eventually we'll get to a place where we'll have fault tolerant quantum computing, fully error corrected quantum computing. And in that sense, we will be able to scale to very large Hilbert spaces, or quantum states, that can do processing on NP-complete problems, or problems that have complexity theory that we can't do today in quantum computing. So what does that mean practically? What that means practically is that for things like drug discovery, we model our interaction with drugs today. We don't necessarily design them. We model them, and we observe how these molecules come together over time through experimentation. One day we'll be able to design with certainty the interaction of how these molecules come together. And that will allow us to, particularly in Montgomery County, that will allow us to really get at how do we create vaccines, viruses, chemical compounds, all sorts of things in a more granular way. And so that's the promise. And it's not just life sciences or, as Julie mentioned, it encompasses a lot of categories of problems that we could actually leverage quantum computing with. And so that's my definition of what quantum is. I know that it was fairly long, Sanjay, but I think it's important to understand where the root is in this.
That is wonderful. Certainly, it has a really potential of having a serious impact on several fields. Just think about vaccines, the recent one in 2 years, 1.5 years, that's a significant achievement. Imagine what can be done with quantum computing, and also our ability to predict, how vaccines will work, what will be the next mutant of the virus. All those things can be done in a shorter amount of time. Just changing the subject just a little bit from science to some more realities. Montgomery County, like all regions, is focused on economic development. The pandemic and the pace at which emerging technologies are increasing industry demand for talent are two powerful economic forces as we see them. As we emerge from the pandemic, there's a global focus on being prepared to respond to the next pandemic or to any new threat, and to address serious challenges like climate change. Montgomery County has a strong cybersecurity, biotechnology, health science, and hospitality industries. In biotechnology, we know that using today's computers, companies are limited by the size of molecules they can compare for drug development. Just an example. But with quantum computers, large molecules can be compared. It unlocks the doors to complex simulations. And in the cyber sectors, the rate at which ransomware attacks are occurring is increasing. So, my next question is for Julie. What impact will quantum computing have on these sectors of our economy? And will it open new economic development opportunities in the county and in the region?
Yeah, absolutely. As Charles mentioned, because of the uniqueness of quantum computing, we can solve problems that previous computers or computers today can't solve. So from a biotechnology perspective, new drug discovery, being able to map the genome and really, comb through the genome, that's a lot of data to go through. And quantum computers will be able to solve a lot of these problems that not just faster, but problems that can't be solved today. So drug discovery, as you mentioned. Yeah. Cybersecurity is going to change significantly because right now cryptography is based on current computers' inability to crack a code. However, we believe that quantum computers will be able to crack codes that are currently being used for cryptography. So already there's companies starting to look at what does quantum proof cryptography look like? Because you have to be able to generate something that a computer can't, reverse engineer or take a look at. Finance, even just, combing through financial markets and financial data, clean energy, exploring new opportunities in research for clean energy and in processing these types of things. Quantum computers and quantum computing in general, and quantum technologies, in fact, because even beyond computing, there's quantum sensors, there's the quantum internet. There's the opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, supply chain is a great place too, where trying to calculate, the best route to the most efficient route for products and how to get products from A to B most quickly. Quantum computers can really do all of that at a speed that current computers can't. And that's where I think the industries are going to be really need to be ready. They need to be ready for this second quantum revolution.
So that sounds really fascinating, and it looks like Montgomery County is well positioned to really take advantage of these emerging technologies. Charles, for Montgomery County to contribute to the development and commercialization of quantum technologies and to benefit from them, what should Montgomery County do?
So Montgomery County is a unique county in the sense that it is the home of the National Institute of Standards. And the National Institute of Standards is one of the shepherds of the National Quantum Initiative, which was put out by our government a couple years back. And they have established the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, which is a consortium of companies and government organizations and schools, and I know that Montgomery College is a part of that. And their sole purpose is to create the market for quantum science and quantum technology. And I think that Montgomery County, because of the strong STEM base, can contribute in a mighty way along all of the things that Julie mentioned. She mentioned drug discovery. Montgomery County has a strong biomedical corridor here at 270. She also mentioned, the security aspect of it. And an example would be NIST has a program to develop post-quantum cryptography algorithms to help the government and businesses become quantum secure over time, and IBM's participating in that process. And in general, the region is really set up and I believe poised from a Mid-Atlantic perspective because of the University of Maryland effort to start the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, which IBM is a part of. And so because of those things, because of the synergy coming down the pike in Montgomery County, with the leadership of Executive Mark Ehrlich and several leaders coming together here in the Mid-Atlantic region, I think Montgomery County is poised to make a really big step. And so what I would add, and this is the final point here, that schools like Montgomery County, as students learn the fundamentals of physics and calculus and and all of the things that go into the underpinning of this information base that you need to be effective in this environment. They must also, as you are doing, re-looking at how you teach them. And so that part of the QEDC, I'm keenly interested in as the vice chair of the Workforce Development TAC, Technical Exchange Committee, as well as the Diversity and Inclusion co-chair in the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance, because I believe without a diverse group of thought in all perspectives, we won't be able to maximize the opportunity. And so, again, I believe that Montgomery County is actually poised to make a strong contribution in this area.
So, Charles, thank you for those comments. Certainly music to my ears. First, that county is well prepared, well positioned to take full advantage and contribute to this new emerging technology, and certainly making physics, calculus, and mathematics a little bit more central earlier in the school system, I think. An important point. It's a good segue for next part of our conversation. New technologies and their applications always present a steep learning curve for people in the workforce and those preparing to enter the workforce. Higher education, community colleges including, we have been long partner in addressing the need to reskill and upskill. We need strong connections with the industries in any sector to make connections to curriculum and to extra and co-curricular activities. In Montgomery County, we are fortunate to be able to partner with national labs as well. You mentioned NIST and other agencies already. Students, what we notice, often choose or change their program of study based on one internship or one research experience. People today, especially younger students, want to make a difference. They want to contribute to a better world, a more just and inclusive society. So, Julie, what is the role of community colleges, higher education in advancing quantum? How can we be a partner in advancing awareness of these opportunities?
Well, I want to echo Charles' comment about diversity. I think that quantum being such it's not a new field. We've been doing quantum research at University of Maryland for 30 years. It's an overnightly new field, but getting to taking this opportunity, this huge disruptive opportunity, and helping to get to students early in their career, so that they understand that these classes that they're taking, what are the practical applications of that? I have two daughters, and explaining to them how they can use math and calculus and to change the world for better. Quantum is a great opportunity to do that, and because again it's evolving, it's newly evolving. It's a great opportunity to start with diversity in mind from the very beginning, to bring a diverse set of students up. To understand why this is important, what they could do with it, and that it touches so many different industries, I think is also a great thing, because you can be doing quantum in life sciences, you can be doing it in clean energy, and looking at things that the students really care about and that they're passionate about, and how they can be a part of this disruptive change. And community colleges are uniquely positioned, especially given that there's going to be a lot of, for kids who decide they don't want to go and get a four-year degree, I believe there's going to be lots of opportunities that Montgomery College can give these kids that can get them into the quantum workforce through, different types of technical avenues. And there's new equipment that's going to have to be operated, and just different types of jobs. We're going to need people across the whole spectrum. And, I think that partnering together, as you also mentioned, with industry to make sure that we're preparing students with the right skills. And that's part of what, like the Mid-Atlantic Quantum Alliance and QEDC, that's really, I think, where we're looking at this ahead of time. We're doing this from the beginning so that we can make sure that we can build the pipeline of students, and that partnership between community college and higher education and industry is just tantamount to making this happen.
That is wonderful, Julie. So, I'm sure you all know that at Montgomery College, we are focused on kindergarten to job talent pipeline, a talent pipeline that goes through every zip code of our county, a talent pipeline that is representative of our demography of our county, homegrown workforce, and the educational continuum that includes post-baccalaureate and postdoc professional development. We prepare the workforce of tomorrow, from technicians to PhDs. But new fields pose challenges, as you know. Targeted outreach is needed to make students as early as middle schools aware of new opportunities so they are informed and excited. Julie mentioned some of these things. So we can help build their foundational knowledge and skills to be ready to enter a new field. Charles mentioned physics, calculus, and other areas. We know we must pay particular attention to inclusivity and diversity. Professional development is needed to create the pool of educators from middle and high school teachers to college faculty. Upskilling the current workforce and ensuring access to continuing education, talent development, and expansion are critical. And then there's cost, right? That's there too. With all of this, Charles, what is the role of community colleges and higher education in building the quantum workforce?
That's a good question, Sanjay. And frankly, a lot of folks are looking at this, and from K through 12, and also retooling. There's folks at the National Science Foundation that are working with from K through 12. Folks as a part of the Office of Science and Technology Policy that are looking at this K through 12 component, which I think is critical because, as you probably are aware, some quantum technologies is 20, 30 years out, and so you got to start when the young people are just starting out in school. And so there's a lot of focus by the Office of Science Foundation and by the National Science Foundation and the Office of Science, Technology, and Policy to look at the K through 12 ranks. And IBM is a part of that as well. We have a very comprehensive IP store of quantum education for quantum computing. Of course, quantum technology includes quantum sensing, networks, as well as compute. But at the end of the day, it's been democratized. Our quantum education has been democratized. Today, I think it's the day of our quantum summer school, and it's our second year of having it. And you can sign up, and I think a lot of my associates signed up to participate in the quantum summer school, which is like a 3 or 4 week course where we can learn quantum fundamentals for compute for free from IBM. And I believe some of the other industry players are looking at trying to democratize a lot of their specific content. I think that's important because it'll allow a constituency like you said, Sanjay, the Montgomery County team to build upon what's already there. And that will allow you to scale beyond the borders of Montgomery College. And keep in mind, I think the way that you scale this in terms of getting the awareness out there and the skill set for this new way of thinking about things, because quantum is so new, is that you have to leverage the students at Montgomery County, and they have to be a part of helping mentor these young people into the next generation. And so that piece of it is something I think that you guys have always been a part of. There's been volunteers from Montgomery County who volunteered in high schools as long as I can remember. And there needs to be what I call a pull-up effect, where every level is pulling up the next level. And from a retooling perspective, I think an organization like Montgomery County can help in that way, in that you have professional folks out there today who have skills that may not be quantum skills, but they are programming skills. And they can be retooled to understand some of the new concepts. And as an example, IBM has a quantum certification program that, we extend out to the broader community. So if you wanted to retool, you could. But there's nothing to say that Montgomery College or some other organization couldn't take that process and do the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm talking to universities about those things now. And I think that they're important because the whole idea is where we are with quantum computing today is not going to be where we are tomorrow. And in order to get to a place tomorrow which has the impact that we all believe that it could be, we have to educate our young people and our people who are currently in place.
So Charles Robinson, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And we are very proud to call you a Montgomery College alum. Julie Lenzer, we are so fortunate to have heard your insights today. Both of you have helped bring to light the importance of helping Montgomery County and Maryland understand quantum technology and how to be ready and help advance this emerging workforce demand. Montgomery College has always sought to be proactive with the emerging fields like we did with cloud computing. When the human genome was sequenced right here in our county, we were ready. I-270 was dubbed DNA Alley. With our partners, we are ready now to be the quantum state. The future looks bright for Maryland and Montgomery County for sure. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your time. Before we go, do you have any closing thoughts, Julie and Charles? Anybody can start.
Sure. I will say that while quantum computing sounds really far out, and we are indeed probably a couple more years away from, as Charles mentioned, having truly fault-tolerant and error-correcting quantum computers, now is the time to get started. And I commend Montgomery College for recognizing the need to get ahead of that. And the Montgomery County and the state as well is going to really benefit from your vision and foresight, folks. So thank you.
I'll echo what Julie just said. Being from IBM, which we currently have over 28 computers online today that folks could actually go off and do experimentation on. It's 20 or so. I mean, at the end of the day, when we look at the next 5 years, we clearly have a picture that's a little bit unique in that we're manufacturing these things. And so I would echo what Julie is saying, and that is, there's some things that you can do today on quantum computers that are relevant. And the whole notion of becoming quantum ready is why we're here. And my goal is to see that we all take advantage of this new capability of technology. And with that, thanks for having me, Sanjay.
Thank you again, and thank you all for joining us today for our Workforce for Tomorrow series and this valuable conversation about quantum technology. I hope you will join us again. Take care. Thank you.